I went from a skinny bitch to a buff motherfucker in just 1 year and 8 months. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to train, because here, we will not really train. This is actually how you train with proper form, everything. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know, down to intensity, volume, splits, exercises. I'm going to show everything. If you want to skip to certain parts, that maybe you've clicked on this video because you want to know something very certain, I put timestamps along the video and you can look and see if a thing you actually want is here. This video is part of a 3-video series where I explain the 3 pillars of progressive overload. Now, in this first video, I'm going to explain how to train properly. Now, as I said, this is part of 3 pillars. These 3 pillars hold up progressive overload, and I have a video that is going to explain what progressive overload actually is and how to actually apply it. But these 3 pillars hold up progressive overload. Only having one pillar is not going to hold it up. You need all 3 pillars. First pillar being training, the second being nutrition, and the third being your recovery. So in this video, I'm going to go right in depth to the first pillar, which is the actual training itself. So what I actually mean is you need to watch the other 3 videos. Maybe you already have a somewhat of understanding of what proper nutrition and recovery is, but if you really want to know everything down to its minute detail, you need to watch all the other videos. So I'm going to stop wasting your time. I'm going to go right into probably the most important thing itself, intensity. So you've probably heard of training to failure. So training to failure is where you're, for example, I'm benching, I'm doing reps, and suddenly my reps are starting getting slower involuntarily. At some point, it is actually impossible to get the weight up, okay? Which is probably not a good idea if you're doing bench, because then you'll fucking die. You need to actually train to failure, where the weight becomes actually impossible to move. Now, okay, you could say, but what if I just push a weight that I cannot even push and I technically have hit failure? Shut up, you piece of shit. So in the intensity, how many reps should you actually be doing? Now for me, for example, I stick between the 6 rep to 9 rep range. Now I hit, my reps between this range so I can actually get the failure. Now, if you want to know what a set to failure actually looks like, I have it here. So now the second, probably most important tip is actually volume. Now there's a lot of people who say volume is probably the least important factor. People say that as long as you keep your sets intense, that you only need 1 or 2 sets to actually grow, which is true. You can grow off of just 1 hard set. I've experienced that, but I only use that to actually minimize the growth. If I'm wanting to prioritize, let's say I want to prioritize my chest, I keep doing 3 sets for my chest, and let's say my strong muscle group is, my shoulders, okay? Which is not the case, it's actually the other way around, but let's say my strong muscle group was my shoulders. I would do 1 or 2 sets, because that's actually how you grow. Volume is important up to a point. In my personal experience, doing more than 3 sets is way more than enough. Doing 4 sets and you're fatiguing yourself way too much. You see, actual volume actually has its importance up to a point. So like the first set you do, you're growing. The second, you grow. The third, you're growing. But the fourth, it's kind of just like barely does anything. But the thing is, the fatigue you're building from each set you do stays linear, okay? But the actual growth and stimulus you get from each set gradually decreases after time. Well, it kind of like is really high in the first 3 sets, and then it drops after the 4th. Now, this is from my personal experience. Now, there's a lot of professional trainers that can back me up here. You can grow off of 1 or 2 sets, especially if you don't have much time in your day. Maybe you only have like an hour to work out. Doing 1 or 2 sets is absolutely fine, but you should definitely try 3 sets, especially when you're a beginner. The thing is, when you're a beginner, intensity is not the easiest thing to learn. You don't really know what your maximum limit is, especially when you're a beginner. So when you're doing extra volume, 3 sets, that means that you're getting enough stimulus to actually grow as much as possible. because you don't really know, especially when you're a beginner, what in full intensity looks like. I showed you an example, but you won't actually know, which is why you should actually film your sets to make sure that you're doing enough intensities. Now, the third thing we're going to get to is general form. Now, there's three things that actually count into form. It is proper technique, general technique, range of motion, and tempo. So what I mean by general technique is, for example, on your incline dumbbell press. On an incline dumbbell press, you want to keep your elbows tucked in a bit more to actually hit the upper chest. But if you keep your elbows flared out, this is going to target more of the middle chest because that's how the fibers run. So general technique is needed. For example, on a lat pull down, if you're wanting to target your lats a bit more, you want to keep your elbows tucked in instead of flared out. That will target more of your lower traps and stuff. So for the exercise you're wanting to do, look up a ton of videos. Now don't just look at one, because there's a ton of people who have different opinions on technique on a certain exercise. Some people say that actually having, flared elbows on an incline dumbbell press is fine, but other people will argue differently. So look up a ton of videos on a certain exercise, see what most people say, and the majority of people say, keep your elbows tucked in. Do that. Now we're going on to general range of motion. Now, the biggest factor of why people get injured so much is because they're doing these half reps like We're going to use the full range of motion, just as I showed you in that video where I showed you how an intense exercise should look like. So I'm going to show it again. Now, as you can see on that video I showed you, I used the full range of motion, but I also controlled the weight down. A big mistake most people do is they don't even control the weight. They're swinging the weight down. They get the weight down or they get the weight up and they just let the weight free fall back. If you do this, you will grow. You will grow until you get injured. I have experience with this, and I'm going to tell you, it takes a while to get injured, especially when you're a beginner. You'll need to at least train a year before you actually get an actual real injury, which is what happened with me. And I can tell you, it is the worst thing ever, especially when you train a year. You're going to make a decent amount of progress, especially if you're consistent training a year. And just to lose that is the most frustrating thing ever. So you don't have to have a 10-second eccentric, like a minute later, then you're down. No. You only have to have control of the weight. So just a simple 2-second eccentric. As you can see on that video, if you want to see what proper tempo looks like, go back to that video that I showed you where I did the incline dumbbell press. But you don't have to have a crazy eccentric, just have simple control of the weight down or control of the weight up when you're doing like a lat pull down or pull-ups. Simply have control of the exercise, okay? That's proper form. So the proper form is general technique, range of motion, and the eccentric tempo. So all those three aspects that I explained about intensity, volume, and actual proper form, those are things that you actually do on the training day itself. Now we need to talk about training splits. I'm going to explain what the best split is. It's push-pull legs, it was upper lower. No, I'm going to explain the best split for you. So if you're wanting to train 5 days a week, I'm going to show you right now how your split can actually look like. So what I would do is a push-pull leg, upper lower hybrid. So for example, I'm going to show you right now. On Monday we will do an upper body. So we will do upper. And then on Tuesday we'll do lower. And then we'll simply take Wednesday off as a rest day. And then we will take Thursday as a push day, Friday as pull, and Saturday as a leg day. And then we will take simply Sunday off. So this is how your 5-day split can actually look like. But if you want, maybe you can train on Monday. You can play around with this. Just make sure that between every cycle, so what a training cycle is upper lower is one cycle, the push-pull leg is the next cycle. So between each cycle, you'll need to keep one rest day. So this here would be a cycle, this here would also be a cycle. So just make sure that there's one rest day between every, cycle. So for example, we can, this is a standard push-pull leg split, push-pull leg, upper lower split. But we can also do something else. I don't know, we could start the cycle on Wednesday or Wednesday, lower, take Saturday off, then we basically train on the weekend, we do push, we do pull, I guess we did fucking Monday again, but you get what I mean. You just have to make sure that there's one rest day between each cycle, and you'll be fine. Okay, so you can see here, rest day, and you have the cycles. So if you want to do a 4-day split, this is what I'm going to show you right now. So for example, we do upper on Monday, lower Tuesday, we take Wednesday off, then we do another upper, lower, take rest day, we take the weekend off, and this is what a 4-day split can actually look like. And again, you can play around with it. Just make sure that there's at least 1 or 2 days between your cycle. So again, a cycle will look like this. Here's an upper lower, that's one cycle. We take the rest, and then we take the next cycle. And since it's a 4-day split, we can actually have 3 rest days. So you'll have one rest period where it's just 1 day, and then the second rest period will be 2 days. So as you can see here, we have 2 rest days in a row, and here only 1. And again, we can play around with it. I don't know, let's say we have to take Monday and Tuesday off, and I don't know, Friday, because you don't know, you have to. We do upper, lower, Wednesday and Thursday, and you do upper and lower on Sunday. So, your split can look like this. Just make sure that there's 1 or 2 days between each cycle. Quite simple, right? Now for a 2-day split, it's just going to be a full body split. So for example, it can look like this. Full body, full body, and then we take 3 days off, and then we do full body, full body, and then we take 2 days off. So this is what the split will look like. You will have 2 rest days or 3 rest days between each cycle. Since there's 7 days in a week, can't make it 2 days or 3 days. It'll have to be 2 days and 3 days. So as you can see, for example, we train Monday, we take 3 rest days, and then we train again. So basically, one cycle is just the 1 day since it's a full body, and then we take the weekend off. But again, instead of taking 3 rest days off in the week, like during the week, we can take 2. I do full body here. Don't know why I keep writing P. Right here, and then we take Friday and Saturday off. So that's what a 2-day split can look like. You just have to make sure that there's 2 to 3 rest days between each cycle, as you can see. So once you understand that, it's pretty simple. As you can see, I listed all the things you need to know. Obviously, in the split, you need to actually see all the exercises that you need to do in the split. For example, on the push day, on the pull, the leg day, on the full body day, upper day. You'll have to look this up yourself. If I start listing all the exercises you need to do on all these splits, I will be here forever, okay? This video was long enough. I hope I explained everything good. Again, this is only one of 3 pillars to hold up progressive overload, so make sure to watch all the other videos. I'll have a link in the description listing all those videos, and make sure you check out all the other videos. I have a video on procrastination, like how to actually be disciplined in 2026. Make sure you actually watch that so you can actually do the progressive overload. Because progressive overload, even if you master your training, recovery, nutrition, it means nothing if you're not consistent, okay? That's it. I hope you learned something, okay?